There is a moment in John Krasinski's A Quiet Place that really surprised me, and it wasn't the aliens. In fact, this moment made me realize that the movie isn't really even about aliens. It was the scene where the family takes hands and silently pray over their meal. That is an unusual scene for Hollywood anymore, and it surprised me more than any monsters jumping out. But it wasn't just that there was a prayer in the movie. It was more that this was Krasinski and his actual wife, Emily Blunt, with two actor children playing their children. I looked online and found out that John and Emily actually have two children together, so this was somewhat representative of their own family and felt more personal than just a scene in a movie. It felt as if they were subtly revealing to the world that they are a religious family. According to Wikipedia, Krasinski was raised and is still a practicing Roman Catholic. Displaying any type of faith on the silver screen can have negative repercussions. Consequently, my first thought was, I'll bet they get attacked for that. But then I realized that this is exactly what A Quiet Place is all about. In the movie, if the family were to pray loud enough to be heard, it could mean an attack from the alien creatures that seem to patrol the area. But this movie isn't just about prayer. It is about keeping yourself and your children quiet in every way to avoid being attacked. Could it be that A Quiet Place is an allegorical representation of John Krasinski's frustration at not being able to express his personal beliefs, and the need to also silence his children in order to protect them from a dangerous world? Let's look again at A Quiet Place. Film composer Carter Burwell once said, "Movies are more about the time in which they are made than the time in which they are set." If this is true, then A Quiet Place is not really about a post-apocalyptic future. Instead, it is about our current divided world of political chaos and angry fake news accusations, where any expression of opinion or belief is grounds for online vitriol. When asked by The Hollywood Reporter about the political undertones found in the film, Emily Blunt was quoted as saying, "What happened was that people were asking, 'Do you think this movie is about being attacked for using your voice?' And that's not what we were thinking going into it, but it's thrilling that a horror film is creating those kinds of conversations." John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, whether intentional or not, created an analogy for our current volatile world of online attacks, and at the same time pulled back the curtain a little bit on some of their own beliefs. Perhaps their convictions were disguised enough in movie metaphor to not draw many attackers, but to those of us who feel silenced, the analogy seemed loud and clear. A recent study shows major evidence that most Americans now censor themselves when it comes to political topics, except among people they regard as being like-minded. Regarding this study, the Washington Post wrote, "We are, apparently, living among many millions of citizens who routinely lie or dissemble about their political opinions out of fear." And what do they fear? Not necessarily government repression, the report suggests, but ridicule and harassment from their fellow citizens, which is often magnified by social media and can sometimes lead to trouble at school or work. Social media has given individuals a platform to express themselves like they have never had before, but it has also created more immediate negative feedback than we've ever had before. Some individuals, under the cover of anonymity, have become internet trolls who patrol certain areas of the web looking for opportunities to attack people. The alien creatures of A Quiet Place could be compared to these real-life trolls who seem to be drawn to those who speak up, are famous, or have their voices heard in any way. The first appearance of an alien in the movie occurs while their youngest son is making noise with a newfound toy. Anyone who has had children can tell you about the looks and comments they sometimes get when they take their children into a public place. Some people disapprove of children in all contexts, and would most definitely disapprove of the Abbott family's choice to have 3 children. However, for such people, the inability of parents to silence their children is even more intolerable than their having had too many children in the first place. Naturally, then, the trolls will feel justified by these beliefs in attacking families.
This is truly a love letter to my kids, because this whole movie is about parenting and what would you do for your kids to protect them. And the truth is, we had just had our second daughter 3 weeks before I read the script. Listen, I cry at anything. It doesn't really, it's not that much of a compliment that I cried reading the script, but I was a wide open, vessel of emotion and tension. And I was actually living through what this family goes through, not the creatures part, but, trying to keep your kids safe and alive. And are you a good enough person to be her dad? Like, all that stuff was going through my head. So when I did do the rewrite, that's really where I focused it. I thought I could actually be the perfect person to do this because I was feeling so emotionally connected.
Many of us have become reluctant to voice our personal beliefs or heartfelt thoughts about things we care about: parenting, politics, religion, diet, or pretty much any topic, for fear of being attacked by some stranger, or worse, a friend or relative. Businesses have been closed, livelihoods destroyed, and even lives have been taken because of the sharing of personal convictions.
One person can change the world, and I remember always being really inspired by that idea that if you stand up for what you believe, and there is a battleground of what's right and wrong, and sometimes it's really hard and the lines are blurry, but you have to fight for what's right.
If you say or do something that upsets people, instead of approaching you privately about the matter and trying to reason together, they may simply attack you and try to destroy you online. Later in the movie, we learn that the mother is pregnant with another child. Not only does this create tension in the story, it shows the family's determination to live according to their beliefs, even after the death of their youngest child.
Yes, I have so much to draw from. I understood this mother so deeply and empathized and got her so deeply. She's very similar to me in many ways. And yet, because she's so similar to me, it was almost kind of traumatic playing some of those scenes because it's so close to home for me. That I think the bright line between me and the character on this one became a bit blurry. It's the most personal character I've ever played.
Bishop Robert Barron of wordonfire.org calls A Quiet Place the most unexpectedly religious film of the year, and makes this interesting observation. The central drama of A Quiet Place is that Mrs. Abbott is expecting a child. The entire family realizes, of course, that a wailing infant would, given the circumstances, mean almost certain death for all of them. And yet, they decide not to kill the child at his birth, but to hide him and mute his cries in various ways. When so many in our culture are willing to murder their children for the flimsiest of reasons, when the law gives full protection even to partial birth abortion, when people blithely say that they would never bring a baby into such a terrible world, the monastic family in this film welcomes life even in the worst of worlds, and even when such an act is of supreme danger to them. Whether you agree or disagree with abortion, whether you are a Republican or a Democrat, or if, like me, you are shamed by others for voting for a third party, it seems clear to me that A Quiet Place is not really about an alien invasion, but about us attacking each other. It is about trying to parent and live according to your convictions while the world attempts to silence you. John Krasinski and Emily Blunt took a risk in creating a film that was so personal and revealing of some of their actual family dynamics, a love letter to their kids. And this authenticity, wrapped inside of a science fiction horror film, is, in my opinion, the cause of its success. The scares are real because we care about this family, regardless of their political leanings. And that is the moral of this story.